not have to feel stuck and stagnant for the rest of your life. You are not a tree, you can move. Shout out to Coach Stormy for saying that and making that clip. Welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, Ty Guidance, and that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Now, with that being said, because there is no right or wrong way to heal yourself, always and only take what resonates as well as leave the rest. So if it doesn't apply, then it's not in the line, so don't force it because it's not for you. As well as grab your pens, grab your paper, and be prepared to take notes. In this video, we're going to go over and discuss what you can start doing to change your situation to not feel stuck and stagnant. If you guys see me using my other phone, it's so I can keep track with this video, as well as some recommendations, some reminders, some disclaimers, and just certain things that you should be aware of. So starting off with the introduction and the topic of the video, you do not have to be stuck and stagnant. You do not have to feel stuck and stagnant. Being stuck and stagnant and feeling stuck and stagnant is a choice. And that's the first thing that you need to be aware of. And if you're asking me, well, if it's a choice, why do I feel this way? It's because the reason why you feel stuck and stagnant is for a lot of reasons. But the main reason is because you're not being honest about how you feel. You're not being honest about where you are, and maybe you are not honest about what you did to get to where you are. There is cause and effect. We make choices every single day, and that's going to be number 2. Until you learn to hold yourself accountable, until you learn to look at yourself in the mirror, until you come clean and acknowledge what you've had to learn from and grow from and let go from, and certain choices and decisions that weren't the best for you, you're going to think it's the end of the world. You're going to feel like you're a failure. You're going to continue to feel stuck and stagnant. What has helped me along my healing journey was to realize I personally have never felt like stuck and stagnant in my life, but I've realized that the reason why I was in certain situations was because of the choices that I made. And instead of beating myself up, which is going to be the third thing, I had to be honest about realizing what I said and what I did in that moment. And that's number 3. Instead of beating yourself up, you have to realize what you were taught and shown. So for example, like myself, if we are in situations where we don't want to be in, it's because of the choices that we made. And the choices that we make are based off of what we've been taught and shown, based off of what we saw, whether it was negative or positive, good or bad, or right or wrong, whether it was from our families, our friends, coworkers, TV, social media, etc. You have to realize that you made certain choices based off of what you knew, because if you knew better, you would do better. And if you did know better and you thought you were bigger than the plot, a hard head makes a soft behind. Like, it's okay to not have had certain guidance or certain resources or certain support or certain finances or certain experiences from your past that's led you up into this moment. But moving forward, you have to count it out. You have to call it out. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to be willing to say, you know what? The reason why I'm in this situation is because of this. Maybe I didn't do this, or maybe I did do this. You are going to feel stuck and stagnant if you are not able to be real. And that's number 4. Like, you can't be embarrassed or ashamed about the decisions you've had to make if you didn't know any better or if you did. Because at the end of the day, everybody else is going to continue to live their life. Time is going to continue to go by. When you guys are watching this, it's March 2026. You're only going to get older in life, and the world's not going to stop or wait. And I'm going to say that part again, and I'm going to say it slowly. The world is not going to stop or wait just because you and I are having a bad day. And I'm telling you from experience. So it's like, in order for you to stop feeling stuck and stagnant, you need to realize, what am I doing? What have I done? What haven't I done? And that's the 5th and final thing that you need to be aware of. You have to be able to self-reflect in order for you to move forward. You have to be able to isolate. You have to be able to sit with yourself. You have to be able to vocalize and articulate how you feel. So now the recommendations, how do we do this? Number 1, if you feel stuck and stagnant, you need to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? If you haven't listened to the first 5 disclaimers, and even if you did, ask yourself, why do I feel like I can't move? Why do I feel like I can't overcome this situation? And you have to be honest. You have to confess, whether it's on your notes that you're taking, anything in the comment section or with a therapist, psychiatrist, or the gods, the ancestors, the universe. I'm not here to force religion or spirituality. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Until you're able to articulate, until you're able to have a certain level of comprehension, until you're able to be vulnerable and stop suppressing everything that you've tried to sweep underneath the rug, you're going to be conflicted. You're going to doubt yourself. Number 2, do you feel stuck and stagnant because of yourself, or are you comparing yourself? Have you been influenced by outside sources such as family members, friends, coworkers? A lot of times in life, if we don't make decisions for ourselves, we are influenced. And there's nothing wrong with being inspired. There's nothing wrong with being influenced. But if you're being led astray, you have to be mindful of the people that you're watching. You have to be mindful of who's giving you advice. You have to be mindful of what you're listening to and who you're surrounding yourself with. Because a lot of times when people feel stuck and stagnant themselves, or miserable, or not at peace with themselves, subconsciously and consciously, some people will project and deflect onto you. So sometimes people will project and deflect their insecurities, their fear, and their envy onto you because that's all they've known. Or sometimes people do it intentionally because they don't want you to grow past them. And I'm speaking from experience. Like, I've met a lot of people who had limited beliefs, and majority of them did it because that's all they were taught and shown. But there were some evil and nasty people who thought like, because they had limited beliefs, or because they were failures, or because they weren't doing certain things, that I was going to be like them. And that's not the case. I know how to think for myself. Okay. Like, you have to be able to discern if it's your energy, if it's your mindset. Like, if you know what you've gone through, and this is why it's so important to self-reflect. If you know what you've been taught and shown in your life, and you know you weren't taught and shown certain things, if you know, that you didn't have certain resources like education or finances and the same opportunities as other people, you don't need to compare yourself to other people, and you shouldn't feel stuck and stagnant. So for example, let's just say you grew up in a household with a single parent compared to the people in your community that come from 2-parent households. You can't beat yourself up and compare yourself to people with 2-parent households. Not to say that they don't know what your experiences is, but they didn't live the same reality as you. Like, it's not to say that they can't understand what that may feel like, but you have a different experience. It's not fair for you to feel like, well, I'm stuck and stagnant because I only came from a single parent household and everybody else around me came from a 2-parent household. Even myself, growing up, I grew up very fortunate. I grew up very silver spooned. I grew up very privileged. So that means I was surrounded by people for the most of my life, by people who were extremely wealthy and extremely privileged. A lot of the people I knew were taught to work hard, to go to school, and have families by like 25, 28, in their 20s. Me personally, I didn't want that. That wasn't my experience. So instead of feeling like, oh, well, I'm stuck and stagnant because I didn't do what everybody else wanted me to do, no, it's just figuring out what you want to do. And that's the 4th or 5th thing. Let me know what number I'm on. Just figuring out what it is that you want. Because a lot of times you will realize you're not far behind in life. You're not stuck and stagnant. You are where you need to be because of what you did or what you didn't do. And just because you didn't do certain things in your past doesn't mean that today that you can't do it. So the 5th and final thing is just realizing where you are, what you have, what you don't have, and how you want to go about solving your solutions, solving your problems. But in order for you to not feel stuck and stagnant, in order for you to make progress and move, you have to identify. You have to come clean. Like, you have to surrender, as people like to say. Like, you cannot be embarrassed or ashamed. You can't continue to beat yourself up if, like I said, you grew up in a household. Let's just say you grew up in poverty and everybody else around you was wealthy. You can't continue to look at other people when it comes to your life and them making a certain amount of money or having certain materials if you didn't have the same tools that they had, if that makes sense. Like, you can't compare apples to oranges. That's like when people are like, oh, orange juice is, yes, people are going to have preferences, but it's like they're not the same. If they were the same, then the other one wouldn't exist. Like, that's like McDonald's or Burger King. There are going to be people who like one more than the other. That is fine, but they're not the same. They're 2 different restaurants. Yes, they sell for the most part, maybe like similar items, but the ingredients and how they taste is different. And that's the same thing with yourself. Like, you don't have to feel stuck and stagnant. You don't have to compare yourself. And that's the sixth gem. You cannot compare yourself to other people when it comes to your life. Like, you do have to be mindful of your tools, your resources, your life versus other people. And if other people and places and things are not willing to pour into you, to educate you, to help you, it doesn't matter what they think. I never felt like at the age of 29 that I was stuck and stagnant, or that I had to live a life compared to people I know. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of people that I knew, keyword, they don't know me, I don't know them now, and I would never speak to them ever again, were not people I wanted to be like. All to y'all shade. Like, when people think they're better than you, babe, I get to wake up whenever I want and do what I want. I'm not at a job that I hate just to survive and just to pay bills. Like, everyone has to survive. Yes, everyone has to pay bills, but I don't want to work somewhere just to be there. I actually want to enjoy what I do. And me being an entrepreneur, me being able to have multiple experiences, that's for me. Like, I don't feel like, oh, because I've had to learn certain things at a certain point in my life that I'm less of a person, like that I'm inadequate or that I'm uneducated. No, that's not it. And the people who have the most to say, they feel stuck and stagnant, if we're being completely honest. Because it's like, if you're flourishing and you're abundant and you're living your life, you don't have time to distract other people. You don't have time to make it seem like other people doing things that you don't want to do is less of you. Like, we don't need to be nasty towards people. You don't have to look down on people, but you just don't have to do what everybody else is doing, and that's okay. Like, you should never feel stuck and stagnant in your life. You should never feel like you're far behind in life. The only time you're going to feel like you're far behind in life is if you know better. And that's how I'm going to end off the video. If you know you want to do certain things in your life, if you know you want to experience a certain reality, if you know you're not supposed to be talking, then yes, that's when it's going to hurt. That's when it's going to hit you, because it's like, you know. And like I said, if you know better, you do better. Now, if you choose not to, I can't help you. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make a drink. Shout out to Mr. Gill, my 6th grade math teacher from Toledo, Ohio. He used to tell us that all the time. He said, class, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make a drink. And that's just what it is. It's only so much, as your favorite mental health specialist, who's really your favorite rich auntie, that I can do. And that's the same thing with you. You have to do the work. You got to meet me halfway, as well as your God, your ancestors, the universe, or your therapist. And that's anybody. Like, you don't have to feel like a failure or feel like you're not going to get anywhere in life just because you had to go through certain things. And you have to realize that if you went through a lot of trials and tribulations and a lot of traumatic situations that the average person hasn't gone through, why would you feel like you're stuck and stagnant? And a lot of you all watching this, just like me, you've gone through trials and tribulations. You've gone through a lot of things that maybe some people haven't gone through. And that's another reason why I'm telling you from experience to not feel stuck and stagnant. You have to realize, if you grew up and you were touched on inappropriately, if you grew up around dysfunction, if you grew up around narcissists, if you grew up in poverty, if you grew up and you were in shelters, if you grew up and you didn't have a silver spoon, if you grew up and you struggled, you're not stuck and stagnant, babe. If you grew up in poverty and now you want to be financially literate and financially educated, you're not stuck and stagnant. If you grew up, like I said, with a single parent versus somebody who comes from 2-parent household, you're not stuck and stagnant. And even with myself, even though like financially, I was very fortunate, there were certain areas of my life where it was just like, you know, we'll talk about that in a different video. But with that being said, that's how you're going to continue to move forward. You need to come up with solutions. So if you feel stuck and stagnant and you want to talk about it and you're tired of feeling about it, let me know in the comment section what it is so we can come up with solutions and moving forward. And if you guys want to see more elaborate details, let me know. If you guys want me to make a part 2 or just any other things talking about this, and let me know what you guys want to talk about, as well as follow me on all my social media platforms. All the information is down in the description box below. Okay, I love you. You are loved and you're not alone. But just keep that in mind. You're not a tree. Take your time. Don't compare yourself. Be mindful and just learn. As you grow older and you learn what's for you and what's not, you will make progress. And don't rush. You don't have the same life as everybody else. So once you realize that, yes, we all have the same 24 hours, but everybody's 24 hours is not the same, you won't be so hard on yourself. And it's a journey, okay? Love you, bye.